Welcome to the Association of Rehabilitation Nurses webinar program. I'm Sarah Hines, Education Coordinator for ARN. It is my pleasure to introduce today's speakers, Dr. Anne Deutsch and Dr. Cidalia Vital. Anne Deutsch is a Senior Research Public Health Analyst at RTI International. Anne also has an appointment as a Clinical Research Scientist at the Shirley Ryan Ability Labs Center for Rehabilitation Outcomes Research and is a Research Associate Professor in the Department of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation in Northwestern University's Feinberg School of Medicine. She is a certified rehabilitation registered nurse with a doctoral degree in epidemiology and community health. Anne's research focuses on quality measurement and Medicare payment models. Her current research projects are funded by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research, and the Department of Defense. Anne has served on many expert panels, including the panels sponsored by the Institute of Medicine, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the National Quality Forum, the Medicare Payment Advisory Commission, and the Administration for Community Living and the World Health Organization. Cidalia Vital is a nurse leader at an inpatient rehabilitation facility. Cidalia has 13 years of leadership experience, mostly in acute care with various roles, including nurse educator, assistant manager, and magnet program director. Cidalia has served on several state and national nursing boards, focusing on improving nursing excellence through advocacy, certification, and engagement. Cidalia has published in academic journals, as well as presented nationally and internationally on nursing with an emphasis on importance of research and empowering the bedside clinicians. Cidalia holds a master's degree and a doctorate from UMass Amherst, with her research focusing on patient safety and quality. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Anne Deutsch and Dr. Cidalia Vital.
Hi, everyone. Before we start, I just wanted to go over our objectives for our presentation today. So we are going to be talking about how you can prepare for your virtual poster presentation. And both Anne and I don't have any off-label use, will not be discussed, and there's no industry relationships to be disclosed. So for the purposes of today, we are going to be identifying factors that facilitate a successful virtual poster presentation. We're also going to talk about ways to address potential or actual distractions that occur during a virtual poster presentation. And finally, we will talk about how to respond to your audience during the question and answer session. So I'm going to let Sarah take over to talk about this year's ARN conference poster platform and navigate us through that. Thank you.
All right, great. So as Cidalia said, I'm just going to show you guys a brief kind of demo, I guess you would say, of what the site should look like if you're going to be recording audio for your poster. And again, this isn't required, but if you did opt in to recording audio for your poster, this is what it will look like. So this is an example of somebody's profile. So what you'll see is there's this task here called poster audio task. When you click on that task, you'll be kind of put into this task that you can record. All you have to do, and actually let me preface a couple things. You need to have your poster uploaded for this to work. So if you have not submitted your poster yet or not had it approved, you will not see this. It'll say you can't record. So just know that you need to have your poster both submitted and my approval of it for this to work. As long as that's happened when you log in, you should see your poster here. So all you'll do is read these directions. They'll kind of give you a step-by-step, but it's pretty self-explanatory. All you need to do is click Start Recording. If you decide you don't want to record audio, even though you had originally said you wanted to, you can opt out still at this point by just clicking this and then clicking Complete, and it won't record any audio. But if you want to move forward with doing the recording, all you have to do is pretty simple. You will just simply click Start Recording, and the recording will start. So it's recording right now, what I'm saying. And then I would click Stop Recording whenever I'm finished. And now it's playing. So it'll play back exactly what I was just saying. You can listen through it. You can play and pause it. You can fast forward through it. And then you can decide to delete it because you didn't like that one, or you can click save recording if you want. The other nice thing to note is either I'll delete this so it won't record for this person, but either while you're clicking, while the recording is happening, so let's say I click start recording, I'm recording myself now, you'll see your poster pops up here, and then when you hover over it, it'll actually zoom in on the different sections in case you want to see those sections up closer while you're doing the recording. It won't record video, so it's not going to record your face, and it's not going to record you moving through the poster at all. It'll just record your voice, but this is just to be helpful for you. If instead, I'll stop the recording here, and it might load too for a while if you've recorded, for a time. Pause this. So I'll delete this, but let's say you want to actually, you don't want to look at it here, you want to download. You should be able to kind of see I thought there was a little download button. If you need a download of your poster, let me know. But in case, here, that's what I think. If you click it, it opens in another window. So if you just click directly on the poster, here, it'll open it up as like a PDF in another window in case you don't want it to be moving around all over like that, and you just want to manually zoom in and zoom out. So that's pretty much all you have to do. A couple important notes. Again, you have to record it all in one take. So you can't like pause the recording and then continue. It needs to be all in one take. You'll have up to 5 minutes worth of audio that you can record, and that's kind of all written in here, so you'll know, but you can record for up to 5 minutes. Only one recording can be submitted. So for most people, the primary presenter is the one who has been asked to do this audio. There might be an exception if you told me that you wanted someone else, not the primary presenter, to do the audio, then I gave the task to them. But only one person can record the audio. You can't have 2 different presenters recording the audio together unless you're in the same physical space. So if you're able to record together in the same physical space, that would be great. Then obviously you can just both talk, but you won't be able to submit either from 2 different presenters, 2 different audios, or if you record part and then want to record another part, you can't do that. You have to record it all at once, all by one person. So those are just some important tidbits and things to know. I think that's kind of everything. Cidalia and Anne, was there anything else about this that I missed when I first talked to you that you wanted me to share?
I just have a question. So when they're recording their session, can they pause, kind of regroup, and then start recording again, or is it only in one take?
Only, unfortunately, in one take. So that's the only option. There's just a start recording, and then once you've started, it'll record a little bit. The only option is stop recording. So it'll just stop. Hopefully right away. So then it will, you either have save or delete. So there's not, a pause or anything like that, unfortunately. You just kind of have to go all the way through.
So Sarah, if I recorded and I didn't like it, and so I tried again, is there a maximum number of times that I can try and redo it?
That's a good question. Nope, you can record it as many times as you want. So if you don't happen to like it, you can simply just delete it. I don't know if this goes into, I'm not sure what you guys are going to recommend people do. Since there isn't a visual recording, you can easily just write down what you're maybe going to say if you're a little nervous about what you're going to say, and then that way you have your script written out. But otherwise, yeah, if you're kind of just going off the cuff and you end up saying something that you didn't want to say, you'll have to kind of do it over again, but you don't have a limit on the amount of times you can do that. One other thing I did forget that I also want to mention. Hopefully everybody who submitted this poster at this point submitted a final poster. One thing that's important is if for some reason you need to make like an emergency change to your poster or something like that, and you have already recorded the audio, you will need to record it again to make any changes to your poster. The upload of your poster is tied directly to the recording. So if the poster is deleted or updated, the audio will also be deleted. So just keep that in mind. I understand that sometimes emergency edits have to happen, but as much as you can try not to do that, the better, because then you will have to re-record your audio. And I think that's it. So if there's nothing else at this point, I can hand it back over to both Cidalia and Anne. I'll stop sharing.
Great. So Sarah, can you hear me okay? Great. So this is Anne, and the segment of the presentation that I'll be covering will be about basically preparing for the recording. So last year, Cidalia, Sarah, and I also did a similar session, and unlike this year, that included video. But many of the slides that we had presented last year do still apply for recording when it's voice only, as will be done this year. So I just wanted to go through a few tips to think through before you do your recording, with the goal that you only have a couple of takes so that you're not spending a lot of time recording. Even though it's 5 minutes, if you're re-recording it several times, it will take a fair bit of time. So, and I do recall on previous conferences, I have re-recorded myself many times, so until I felt like I got it right. So hopefully some of these tips will be helpful. And before I start, by the way, congratulations to those of you who do have posters. It's really great that you'll be presenting at conference this year. So as you're preparing to think about doing your recording or your session, first of all, make sure that you eliminate any distractions or any potential distractions. That would mean turning off or muting your cell phone, your email, etc. on your computer. As many of you know, turning off your phone will mean that you don't have a distraction. As you know, you're probably aware, notifications are specifically designed to disrupt your attention. And so if you put your phone in another room or mute it, that will definitely help. If you're in an office or in a room, close the door if you can. If you're working from home, let other people, like your family members, know that you're presenting so they don't come and knock on your door. I think last year when Cidalia was recording, she had a very famous interruption. She's a chief nursing officer, so it wasn't shocking that somebody would have some kind of urgent, but I think she does usually have a sign on her door, but in that instance, it was unavoidable. But to the extent possible, you know, if that is possible, please do that to help reduce the time needed to do the recording. Next slide. Another issue is to, you know, prepare yourself and have everything in place. In this case, you know, as soon as you turn it on, it'll be recording right away. And I think, Sarah, there is a sound check, is that right?
So there's not like a specific like sound check, but you'll basically see like a little bar that's like going up and down as you're talking. So as long as that bar is moving, it means that it's recording some sort of audio. The other way that's a good sound check is if you just click start recording, record yourself just talking a little bit, then play that back and see if that audio seems like it's loud enough or clear enough. And so that's kind of a workaround to do a little mini sound check.
Thank you, Sarah. Also, if you have any reference materials that you might be mentioning as you present, those should be handy. So if you are presenting, for example, a research poster and you want to mention something about something that was particularly relevant and the detail might not be provided in the poster, and so you want to have that handy so that you can have exact wording that you might want to say on that. Next slide. Even though you are recording and there's no video, I do suggest you pay attention to smiling while you talk. People can tell sometimes when you're on the phone or recording. I used to actually have a little Post-it note on my computer near my camera that said smile to remind myself to have a happy face as a reminder. But it can make a difference in how your voice is projected. Next slide. Importantly, when you're speaking, there are several different issues to consider. For example, the volume, the clarity, tone and emphasis, as well as the pace and pausing. So in terms of volume, you should be thinking about projecting your voice a bit more than you would in a normal conversation. And as Sarah suggested, certainly if you want to do like a test to see what you sound like, and if it sounds loud enough, definitely do that and just do test, like many of us do on webinars. In terms of clarity, speak clearly by articulating words properly without mumbling. Even if you're a bit nervous, practice ahead of time so that you're able to articulate your words clearly. In terms of tone and emphasis, your tone should be consistent with the content of your message. So if you, for example, have a research poster and you had a surprising finding, your voice should also convey that surprise or the enthusiasm if you had a very positive finding, for example, for your research or quality improvement results. In terms of pace and pauses, speak more slowly than in ordinary conversation. It's recommended about 150 words per minute is appropriate. Next slide. Next slide, Cidalia, please.
Yep.
Okay, I think you're taking over. So
Yes.
At this point, are there any questions for Sarah or myself at this point? Does anyone have anything in chat?
There's nothing in chat.
Yeah, as a reminder, you'll be muted during the presentation, but please type any questions that you have in the chat and we'll make sure to address them.
Okay, so seeing no questions in the chat, I will continue. I also echo Anne in saying congratulations for those of you that have your poster accepted to the ARN conference. We are both very proud of you. I know Sarah is as well. And this is a time really to celebrate that and take the opportunity to really showcase it through your presentation. So the purposes of my portion of the presentation is to really talk about how to get yourself ready. I think with any type of presentation, whether it's behind a podium, online, even behind a computer being recorded, it can be nerve-wracking. So our job today is really to get you ready for that and prepare you to feel confident in what you're going to present. So we're giving you some tips ahead of time, and we're hoping that it's helpful. And we look forward to some feedback from you on this session on whether or not it was helpful. The first thing that I think everyone does is trying to get their thoughts together. And when it comes to a recording, it's a little different than what we had last year. You want to really present in a succinct manner, and you don't want to sound like a robot. So you want to prepare an elevator speech to introduce your poster and really make it catchy and interesting. I do work at Encompass Health, and we have a poster this year that was accepted, and it was about improving nursing engagement through the COVID-19 pandemic. The title itself is catchy. How can you improve engagement over a pandemic? Well, somehow we did, and that's the title of our poster. So that alone, I think, is catchy. So when you're presenting your poster via recording, you want to make sure that you have an elevator speech to really catch them right at the beginning of your presentation. The second thing is to always be confident and be proud of your work. I remember my first poster when I was a staff nurse. I was a nervous wreck. I think I printed, it said that the dimensions of the poster were 8 by 4. I actually printed it 8 by 4 and it overlapped. It was a huge poster because I didn't know what to expect. And I think today what we want you to take away is that you are going to be confident and you're going to be super proud of what you're doing, and you're going to project that and use a lot of the tools that Anne gave you today. When you make your outline for your presentation, whether you type it all out, I would recommend not reading it because then it sounds like you're reading it. Try to maybe use bullet points. I specifically put here on the slide to use 4 major points to present your poster. So the first thing is your introduction and background to your topic. So what made you research that topic, or what made you look into that specific quality improvement initiative? Give a little bit of background. What were your methods? How did you complete it? whether it's evidence-based practice, quality improvement, or research, what did you do? And break it down simply for the audience. And for your findings, what did you specifically learn? What were some of the key takeaways? You have 5 minutes, so you can't go on and on. So make sure that your findings are succinct, clear, and they understand the impact that your project has made. And the last thing is discussion. So what was the key takeaway? Well, with us, with the COVID-19 pandemic and the nursing engagement, the key takeaway was that we built trust in our hospital, and we were available as nurse leaders to ensure that the staff knew that every minute we were there for them. And that was really the most important thing. And our outcomes were that we measured it through our engagement survey. And then the last thing is prepare a transition statement. This is from last year, so we had a different platform, and it was interesting. You kind of went into a room, you had a room on your own with your poster, and then people could come in and out of that room. That won't happen this year, so the transition statement won't be as important, but if you're presenting a poster somewhere else, you will have to have that ability to kind of flex in and out of a conversation. And even if you're live in front of your poster, it's the same kind of thing. You're going to have new people kind of looking interested in what you're doing, and you're going to have to prepare a transition statement so that the next person feels like they're being listened to as well. Any questions so far in the chat, Anne or Sarah?
Nope.
Okay. So the question and answer session for this year's conference is going to be very different. And I'm going to have, in a minute, I'm going to have Sarah kind of talk about what that will look like. But if you're doing a traditional presentation at an actual conference, or you have a platform where people are going to be in your session, just remember you have the most knowledge about the content. Be proud of that. Present it. Tell them what you did. And when they ask you a question, don't feel stumped. Take a moment, breathe, reflect, and then answer. And if you don't know the answer, that's a great opportunity for you to get their contact information. So you can email them, reach out to them, and network. And if your poster has any sort of tools, whether it's surveys, handouts of any sort, questionnaires, make sure you have those available with you if you're presenting it live or even online and you have an open question and answer session, or have those available and say in your recording, you can even say, you know, we used such and such tool for ours. I welcome anybody to reach out to get that information from me. And again, it's an opportunity to network. Sarah, did you want to talk a little bit about what they could expect at the ARN conference with regards to question and answer?
Yeah, of course. And just so that you know, more information will be coming out about this in detail. We just want to give you a quick overview just so that you understand a general idea. But basically, the ability for Q&A, what that's going to look like is when somebody is viewing your poster, let's say they're looking at your poster, they're listening to the audio, there's going to be a button on the screen that will say, you know, ask a question or Q&A or something like that. They can click on that button and they'll be able to post a question and actually see the questions that other people have posted and kind of interact with those questions. When they post the question, you will actually have your own login, your own way to go to those questions and answer them. So there's going to be two options. There'll be kind of a question and answer and then a discussion. The question and answer is strictly only going to be allowed for you to answer the question so that people aren't just answering the question and maybe they don't actually know. And then the discussion tab is actually going to be kind of just an open forum for people to go back and forth with their comments, and then people can, you know, answer maybe questions that people are putting in there, or, you know, go back and forth that way. But with the Q&A tab, you'll be able to actually go in, look at all those questions and respond directly to that person. And then everybody will see your answer to that question there too. So if someone sees that and they have the same question, they'll see the answer right there. So that'll be the main way. Another option of something that you can do is that, you know, you'll be able to communicate with people obviously through the discussion or through the question and answer. If somebody, you know, has a question that you think, hey, maybe this would be better talked about in, you know, a more face-to-face or virtual face-to-face conversation, we will have a remo available. I'm not sure how many of you guys were at our last conference, but we had Remo last year as well as a platform. And what that platform is basically a way for people to kind of be in the same virtual space and kind of like check in. So there's tables kind of set up. People can kind of decide to come and go when they want. And it's almost like a virtual lobby that you can be a part of. And so you can always say to that person, hey, I like your question. Would you want to have a deeper discussion on that? I'm going to be in the Remo space, on, Wednesday at this time or Thursday at this time. Again, we won't have any slotted times for the poster presenters and people with questions to talk, but we will have slotted times for break times, which will be times when we'll have the Remo space open. And so that would be a perfect time, like I said, for you to initiate, hey, I'll be available at this time. If you have those questions, I'd be happy to talk with you more. You have an ability to then talk with that person actually with a video. So there'll be video and audio abilities for you to kind of have a back and forth conversation with somebody if you decide you want to do that. So.
Okay, thank you, Sarah, for that. I think last year it was really meaningful for me when presenting my poster to have that opportunity to kind of dialogue back and forth. So I would encourage the group that's on today to consider that, making those connections through that chat, and then make time maybe to do that virtual conversation. And if they're present actually at the conference, meeting up with them for a coffee or something in a neutral environment. The next thing I want to talk about is networking opportunities. And you can do this. It's a little different when you're at a conference standing next to your poster, you see people walking by. That time has changed quite a bit. And I think it's different this year, but it's still doable. And using some of the tools that Sarah just mentioned with regards to the question and answer session, you have an opportunity to exchange information and meet new people. Poster presentations are really a time to showcase your work, develop your presentation skills, as well as develop career advancing opportunities. Anytime you go to a professional conference, you're meeting such wonderful people from across the country. I've been doing this not as long as many of the folks that are in this room, but I have met some amazing people in conferences through networking and specifically with poster presentations. And I hope that that's the same chance that you have when you present your poster. So take every opportunity, harness it, and provide your contact information so that person can reach out to you. Because if they're interested in your poster, then they're interested in you as well. And lastly, we want to just celebrate you and your career milestone. Be proud of what you've accomplished. Whatever your topic was, I'm sure you learned a lot from it. Celebrate with your family, celebrate with your friends and your co-authors. And congratulations from all of us here at ARN. We are so proud of you, and we want to make sure that you know that and that you go with that energy to present your poster, even if it's recorded. These are some of our references for today, and now we want to open it up, Sarah, for that next. You wanted to show some more information about the platform.
Yeah, of course. Again, please type any of your questions that you have in the chat while I'm showing kind of this next section. But I wanted to kind of give you guys a brief visual of what it will look like for other people to view your poster. So I have an example, and this is an example website. It's not what our website will look like, but actually of a conference that I'm currently attending that is housed through Cadmium, which is actually Cadmium's presentation, their conference. So I'm going to just share my screen and share that conference with you so you can kind of see what it'll look like. So the first thing I wanted to show you is kind of not specific to the posters, but it's specific to the Q&A portion that we were talking about. With the way that this specific conference is set up, they don't have the Q&A feature turned on with their posters, so I won't be able to show that to you on the poster part, but I'll just show you really quickly in what would be usually like an actual presentation. So just imagine that this is for a poster and not a presentation. What people will see is there will be this button that says discussion and Q&A. And when you click on that, the headings here will be a little bit different. So it will probably be, Q&A here and discussion here. But basically what you can see here is something like what you'll see. So you'll see people's questions here. You can click ask a question, and the person would ask a question. Other participants can actually vote up other people's questions so that the ones that they also want to know an answer to, they can kind of vote for. And then this is called chat here, but this is kind of where the discussion will be, and people can kind of just post any sorts of, comments they have or whatever and post back and forth. So this is just, again, not exactly what it will look like, but an idea of kind of what that will look like for the Q&A part. Again, more information will be shared about this and more details once we have this set up better for our conference, but at least you can kind of get a sneak peek of what the visuals of what it will look like. And then we'll also be like linking out to Remo, so people will all know exactly how to get to Remo from the main website. And then the next part I want to show you is actually the poster, so the virtual poster gallery. So last year, we didn't quite have this set up in the same way. This year we have, instead of just a list of posters, we actually will have what's called the poster gallery. So when people click on it, and this one obviously only has a couple because this is just like an example, but all the posters will show up like this. You can actually have, a zoom in, like a bigger screen, or, look at them smaller, whichever kind of way you want to view them. People will be able to do that. They can actually search like keywords of your poster, and then that poster will pop up. But what will happen is when somebody clicks on your poster, they'll see, again, this is where that button will be, but it's not here for like the Q&A. It'll pop up on this pop-up here, and there'll be, a little description of your poster. It'll say if there's audio or not, and then they can click view e-poster. This will pop up, and your audio will actually start playing right away. People can press play and pause on the audio or fast forward the audio, but your audio for your poster will start playing right away. People can zoom in and look at your poster in the same way that you kind of could when you were recording it. And they could choose to, look at it in a PDF, look at it in full screen, and they would see it really big. And they'd also be able to listen to the audio. And then they can actually move to the next poster here as well, really easily to see what the next poster will look like. So that's just kind of a quick little overview. I hope that helps and gets you guys a little excited for this virtual experience and how virtual posters will be available. But I think this actually makes it really easy for people to find content that they want, the posters that they want to look at, and they'll be able to actually rate the posters and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of really cool offerings, and I'm sure there'll be even more details and more things coming up to be shared as we get closer, but this is just a little kind of sneak peek.
Sarah, I have a question. Do the QR codes work with this virtual platform?
So if somebody has a QR code on their poster, there should be nothing stopping it from working. If somebody's to put their phone up to the screen, I mean, it depends on their phone maybe, but yes, that should work. And there might actually be an ability, I'd have to look into this honestly, because we haven't looked into this part of the site yet, but there might be an ability for us to allow people to submit QR codes that would show up on the description, but I'd have to see if that's actually something we can do, and even if we could do for this year, maybe for future years. But if you have a QR code directly on your poster, that should work, especially if someone's viewing it as a PDF, then it should not be a problem.
Great. And I would say that you mentioned earlier before the call that folks should opt in to share their email addresses so that folks can reach out to them if they have other questions about their poster. I think that's a great, again, network opportunity for people.
Yeah. Also, I did have a question specifically to me in the chat about having access to do this audio recording. If you didn't initially opt in, or you're not seeing the audio ability on your task list right now when you log in, it might be either because you opted not to do it, or if your poster's not in, then you won't see it. But either way, if you want to opt in or you're not sure why it's not showing up, just email me directly, and then I can get that resolved for you. So just send me a quick email, and then I'll kind of check into why it's not showing up for you and make sure we get that resolved.
I'm looking to see if there's any chat questions, and I don't see any. I guess we were wondering if anybody had any other tips that they'd like to share with everybody that perhaps our team didn't cover. And we certainly would welcome both the, I had this really awful experience and it was a lesson learned for me. or I had this really great experience and here's why it was a very positive experience. So if anybody would like to share those, feel free to enter those in the chat. I know some of the people who are on this Zoom have a lot of experience, so I'm sure that there are some tips perhaps that you might be willing to share. And then of course, if you have questions, also feel free to put those in the chat.
So we have a comment from Elizabeth Bland, thank you. It says, this was very helpful. I'm not presenting at this conference, but overall love the tips because as an educator at the hospital, we are using the virtual platform for more and more, and that is so true. So thank you for that comment. Sarah Andrews is asking, what is the deadline for having the recording done? I think that's a Sarah question.
Yes, so that's September 1st, and it actually should show up. So when you look at your task list, it has like the deadline for each task. So that should always show up, but it is September 1st.
Great. I think it's important for everyone that's in the audience to know that this is also a networking opportunity. I have to say that I know about 5 or 6 people on this call and from different venues. So these are really important times for us to be able to get to know each other and other leaders and nurses across the country, especially from rehab. So I take this opportunity. And then Terry Black, who I know, thank you for being here, Terry. I think it's important to keep in mind the flow of information from your poster. Keep in mind how readers will read and view it. That is so true. Being succinct is key. So thank you for that comment, Terry.
And one other comment I'll add too is if as you are either here live or watching this recording are thinking of other information that would be helpful for you to have or help you when you're presenting your poster, and you have questions or something, please reach out and email one of us and let us know, because we'd be happy to try to grow this type of presentation and provide as much information as we can to make you successful in your presenting and developing your poster. So please reach out if you have some other ideas of information that would be helpful for you.
Linda Pierce just said, thanks for this information. Always good idea to submit your work for publication too. Nice plug, I love it.
Right, and Linda is of course part of the Rehabilitation Nursing Journal editor group. So thank you, Linda, for that plug. That's excellent suggestion.
Elizabeth Bland wrote, oops, I just scrolled up, I apologize. Screens are much smaller than in real life. How do you make it large enough to view, or do you just assume they will zoom in if they can't read it?
So I think part of it is that's why Cadmium has the feature that when you click on the poster, and if you're not viewing it in the PDF format, if you're viewing it in the site, it actually zooms in right away. So you don't have to worry about, manually finding a zoom and like zooming it in. It already is it shows you it as regular, but when you hover over with your mouse on any part of the poster, it zooms in for you already, because it kind of assumes you're not going to be able to read the small tiny font. So that's what's really nice, is it it does that for you.
We have other positive comments, so thank you for that. Any other questions from the group? Comments?
All right, well, if there's no more comments or questions, feel free to keep putting it. Oh, someone said positive. First time presenter. Oh, that's great. Saying thank you for the presentation. If there's no more comments or questions, we'll kind of wrap up. Is there anything else, Cidalia or Anne, that you want to say before you wrap up?
Nothing really, other than, again, congratulations for those of you who are presenting. We hope things go well, and as Sarah said, she's very happy to help you with any of the logistics, so don't be afraid to reach out to her. She's very quick in getting back to you.
And I just want to say thank you to the ARN Research Committee, the whole team. I think this webinar was a result of the work of that committee, and I just really appreciate all the work they put in to develop the series that we're going to be putting out for everyone. So thank you specifically to Dr. Riegel, who is on the call today.
Yeah, I agree. It's great and definitely much needed and very helpful to be able to provide this information. So really good forward thinking on all of your guys' parts. Great. Well, I just want to thank you both again, Anne and Cidalia, for delivering such a great presentation. Registrants of this webinar will receive an email with a link to the recording of the webinar, so you will get that. As always, continue to watch our website for more webinar information as it becomes available. Any additional questions can be directed to ARN Member Services at 800-229-7530 or via email at info@rehabnurse.org. And thank you again for joining us today. And this concludes today's webinar.